people out there.
Well, fortunately, none of the French people out there heard the things that you guys were saying. Welcome back, my friends. Welcome back to part 2 of our episode this evening. While we were away on break, we definitely were not talking about how the French... Yeah, I'm just going to stop there. I'm just going to stop
Come on,
there.
we're Americans. Okay, I'm sorry.
Yeah, I know, but, you know, there might be some French Canadian somewhere that picks this up and says, wait a minute, you sons of bitches.
Yeah, well, they're basically Canadian, so, you know.
Okay. That definitely did not irritate any Canadian ever. Anyway, so to quick recap, we've departed from Cocido. We are en route to Bessières. So I'm going to go ahead and actually update this now on this board, or excuse me, on the overlay. Give me just a quick moment. We are going to go to eventually... Come on. Istria Station in the Bessières system. Yes, the one thing I honestly, like, all BS aside, I joke a lot about the French, and one of the things I hate about the French language is that it uses extra letters that aren't pronounced, and it blows my mind why we have a letter in a word that isn't needed. And then I remember, oh yeah, English is not much better in that regard. All of the CK sounds. Anyway, just my little mini rant for the moment. Quick recap, we are en route to the Istria Station in the Bessières system. We've had a conversation between the captain and the CMO, or the doctor. We then had a conversation between the comms guy and Fritz Hellwig regarding how perhaps the XO is a little shifty, a little shady. But there's also the underlying...
it just felt like that.
But also the underlying problem of some sort of comms... unauthorized communications, I think is a good way to round that off. And then we have Milligan basically saying, hey, let me do the fun specials, you know, on the side stuff too. I too can do more than just pilot a ship. And now we have Senior Trooper McAvoy. It's probably like mid-afternoon on Tuesday. You're still en route to Bessières. You get a notice in some fashion that Troop Sergeant Franco and Troop Commander Hurst would like to see you in... I don't know if I've actually given them an office, but let's just say they want to see you in the briefing room.
I'm sure the troop commander's at least got an office. I mean, come on.
Yeah, if I remember right, there's 4 offices on the ship. One for the captain, one for the XO, one presumably for the CEO, the chief engineer. So I imagine the troop commander has one, but in lieu of that, sometimes the troop commander and all of the ship's troops like to do various things in the briefing room. So
the briefing room is pretty cool and big. It is the briefing room after all.
Yeah, you know, it can uncomfortably hold 10 or 15 people.
All right, well, I guess I'll have to tell my boys that I'm in the middle of training right now, you know, for future missions and whatnot, to just continue without me, I guess, because the fucking stupid ass commander / whoever the fuck.
3.5 minutes. Just wanted to throw that out there.
It has not been 3 only.
Yes,
nah, dude.
Because let me explain why real fast. So, more like the uncomfortable sex room. Wow. When we go on a break, I stopped the recording. This is now the beginning of part 2 of the videos.
Come on, I didn't know that.
I know, that's why I'm only giving you a little bit of grief. Also because I'm not getting monetized right now, so don't sweat it. Anyway, yeah, so, yes, as like many junior leaders across every military ever, being called away by more senior leaders in the middle of something that you're doing with your subordinates, yeah, no, I don't know how many times I've had to leave the motor pool and let my guys be unsupervised so I could go to a meeting. Anyway.
I'll be right back, boys. Give me 1 minute.
When you get to the briefing room, you'll notice that Hurst and Franco are sitting there, and between the two of them, they've got a number of files. And I realize in the year 2297, one would imagine lot less actual paperwork and a lot more like work
Older files, I
laptops.
imagine.
Yeah, more digital than hard copy. But they've got their little laptop type thing
Well,
set up and a couple of
Yeah, I
manila
imagine these are
folders.
probably older. I imagine these files are probably old as fuck, considering how old he is. But whatever.
Well, no, I'll explain that in a moment. So when you arrive, they have they both have like some sort of little super laptop deal set up. They also have a couple of manila folders and some loose leaf paper. And as you enter, Troop Commander Hurst says, "McAvoy, take a seat. We need to talk for a moment."
As he goes to take the seat, he'll say, "I hope it's worth interrupting my training session with my boys."
Well, I hear you. And yes, it is. It's not something you're gonna want to hear.
Really? Nothing. I never want to hear anything anybody wants to hear in this damn ship.
So I've noticed, but we'll save that for the second topic. Our first topic is I don't have your report for the actions on the OMS Andrew Carnegie.
Okay.
I'm gonna need that from you.
My report? Sorry,
Yes.
I might have been a little unconscious during a quarter of it.
I think it was a
I'll
lot
get
less
right
than
to
that,
it then.
But I will need your paperwork for that. You go ahead in the meantime. Why don't you go ahead and give us your recollection of the major events of the operation to recover the station?
All right, well, why don't you just give me a paper and pen real quick, and I can just go ahead and give it to you.
I'm waiting for you to write the word shit all over it.
That was in character, kid.
Yeah, no, I'm definitely waiting for McAvoy to be like, yeah, no, in character, this was dumb. We almost died. You suck. Scribble, scribble, signature.
Now, you know what? If he gives him a pen and paper, he's gonna write. I mean, I'll tell you. I'll type exactly what he writes on the piece of paper. Okay,
No, just give us the short version.
Okay, he writes, "We went on a space station, shot robots, ordered to get a plant, got knocked out unconscious, lost my whole team in the process. Wake up." Boom. That's the report.
Fucking Wiggles is
He
trolling us.
hands it over, giving him kind of like a very tired, really fucking uninterested glance or stare.
Yeah. We'll have to work on your report filing skills, but
Oh, is that not what happened? I'm sorry. It's mostly what I
No.
recall.
no, this we'll talk more about the proper way to file a report, Senior Trooper.
Right. Of course.
I think the more important issue that we need to discuss is your overall performance and your attitude of late.
Performance. Well, pardon me for not exactly knowing what an alien plant would do to me and my boys.
No. I listen. I hear what you're saying, and I have to remind you that in this profession, risk is inherent. It's all around us. But there are things we can do to mitigate that risk, mitigate that risk, and then looking back, perhaps there was a better way to have approached that situation. I will allow that. What I really want to get to here, Senior Trooper, is that your performance in the last few weeks is not much dissimilar from a roller coaster. Would you agree or disagree with that statement?
I disagree. As you have clearly seen out on the field, me and my boys perform quite well. Unless you're regarding the trials and, he kind of air quotes, tests, which are supposedly supposed to tell you how good we will do. We seem to have been performing quite well out on the field of battle. I referenced the robots that we mostly dealt with on our own.
Yes, something like 4 out of 6 were killed by your team. I can't argue facts.
No casualties, might I add.
Hurst has that moment where I think Hurst and Franco both share and exchanged glance, and I feel like they're both like taking a quick like trip down memory. Like they're both imagining for the moment the XO taking an electric bolt to the arm, and they just kind of smirk at each other.
Yeah, zero casualties on my team. I don't give a fuck what happens to the XO, dude. That guy can get zapped for all I give a hell, dude. I swear to God. Nah, dude, fuck that guy.
But then they look back to you to say, okay, when you first came to the ship, your team was garbage when it came to maintenance, when it came to response times for various drills. But you did pull them around. For instance, on Mars, your team completely wiped out Benefield's team. And your team's overall marksmanship was, I believe, a little bit better than their team. So yes, you have performed well. And you did very well on the station. Your attitude, on the other hand, has been plummeting since we got back. I would like to know what's going on.
Wasn't it obvious? You sent us into a damn alien room that we knew is gonna instantly knock us out unconscious. What do you want me to? You want me to praise our leadership for it? Send him right on in.
We didn't know that that's what was going to happen.
That's exactly you know.
Listen,
My boy Carl went in before any of us did, and we knew exactly what it did. I knew exactly what it did. I tried telling you. I did tell you, didn't I?
yes, but you went into that room and you didn't pass out right away.
Right away. Maybe I get a few more seconds because maybe I'm just a little more resilient than my boys. I don't know. I don't know. Maybe.
I feel like once again, Franco and Hurst share a look, and you can actually almost hear Franco say, or maybe more hard-headed.
I didn't see you guys down there. That's all I'll say. You sent me and my boys down there to get knocked the hell out by a damn plant, while you guys were up around here.
I suppose that's one way. Well, first off, both of us were on the station, not that far from you. Doesn't
On the
really
station.
change too much of what you're saying, though. You're
After
right.
we already got sent in to deal with the robots, find any survivors.
Mr.
deal with the
McAvoy, what do you
plant.
think ship's troopers do?
Oh, I ain't arguing what our job is to do. I'm just saying that maybe we could have been given better orders. I don't know. Didn't
Would
need
you-
to send all my boys in there to get knocked the hell out when we knew it was going to happen. That's all I'm saying.
Hurst takes a moment, types up a few things on her laptop, and then she looks at you and she says, noted.
I'm sure.
Perhaps
Well, if that's all.
No, that's not all. I think what we need to be clear on is that with the information we had at the time, we made a decision. And you executed that decision, which is generally how these sorts of things go.
Of course.
Hindsight, as they say, is often 20/20. Looking back
Well,
now, I'm not done. Looking back now, perhaps, as I said already, things could have been done differently, but they weren't. We have to take our losses in stride. We can't let them hold us back. We need to learn from them. And that's not just for you, that's for Franco and I both.
No. That is for the eggheads that really run the fucking ship to learn. They're the ones that made the orders. I'm certain of it.
Can you
Alien
change?
artifact.
Can you change the captain's way of thinking or the way of doing?
Suppose not.
But you can change how you and your team act. Yeah.
Why would I change how we act? We've been performing
You
just
can.
fine.
I'm saying you can. You have, in fact.
Well, why would I?
2 months
The way
ago,
they behave and the way we do things, we seem to run this ship just fine. Do our job just fine.
2 months ago, Spearman couldn't do more than 20 push-ups in a minute. What you got? What do you got him up to already?
More than that.
What I'm trying to say, Mr. McAvoy, is that we can only control or influence or affect the change of what's within our purview. The captain is not in our purview. We can influence him only so far. We can advise him only so far. But when the captain says jump or go, it is our job to jump and go. But what is also our job is to determine the best way to do so. And sometimes, yes, we make mistakes. And sometimes, yes, those mistakes get people killed. It's an unfortunate side effect. It's one that we work to avoid at all costs. But we're going to make mistakes. We're not perfect. We do ever endeavor to become better so that we make fewer mistakes in the future.
He kind of like slams his hands on his knees and kind of like stomps a little bit. Because he's very clearly showing a bit of anger. You are talking about the lives of my men. All right? I know you may not give two flying fucks about the lesser men, but they're under my command. All right?
And you are under mine. And they are mine as well. Don't forget that they are just as important to me as they are to you.
Oh, important. Important for throwing away, right?
No.
When the captain or you tells us to throw our lives away, that's what we gotta do, huh?
That's not what this is about at all.
That's exactly what this is about.
That's what you perceive to have happened. Again, with the information we had at the time, that was the choice that we made. As it turned out, it was a bad call to make. I'm admitting that to you right now, McAvoy. And yet you're not listening because you're still clouded by your own anger.
Whatever.
Make sure you redo this report and get it to me by 1800 today. Unless you have anything else, you're dismissed.
He just kind of gets up and tosses the as he gets, how he gets up and the chair falls over and he'll walk out.
Yeah. He stands up too fast for the chair to
yeah.
He knocks it
over. It doesn't fall over because you're at 0.5 G. It kind of like tumbles away.
Yeah. It does a dramatic fall in slow motion.
Yeah, there we go.
You stick it down, it bounces off the floor, covers to the ceiling.
Yeah,
the drill. Yeah, the usual.
Yeah, and just for the record, Zam, just so you know where the LT was coming from, she was trying to say that, she was definitely trying to admit that maybe they had made the wrong choice, but she's trying to learn from her own mistakes.
Hell, nah, bro. I don't give a fuck what she thinks, dude, or says. Man, she made the call. She's taking my shit for it, okay? Captain did too. I already gave him shit for it.
That's fair. I'm just trying to make sure. I want to make sure that that's what.
No.
The player heard.
But he just views her as a loyal dog that just fucking does whatever the hell she's told.
Sure,
and also doesn't consider the lives of anybody underneath her because she's saying, well, sometimes sacrifices must be made. Fuck off.
Easy. All right. That takes us to the XO.
I'm the XO.
Yes, you are.
All right, so I'm plotting the death of all the other troopers in a very casual fashion.
What are you gonna do? Are you gonna saturate the ship with concentrated oxygen so you can light a match and burn it all down?
I'm gonna have it in the airlock, and then I'm gonna kick the door open.
There you go. Safety overrides disabled.
Whoops. Yeah, no, it's
fine. When we talked last with the XO last week, he wanted to do some sort of buggy stuff with the code and the logs for the comms. What exactly? Let's say for the moment, maybe you're digging in some of your computer records or your copies of that information that Paul Gray had brought to you. What are you doing? What are you looking for? Are you trying to send it anywhere? Like, what's going on here? I imagine this is kind of like, probably like 11 or 12 o'clock at night, and it's just you. Your wife is asleep, but you're sitting there with a laptop in bed doing some work, and this is what you're probably working on.
Yeah. So there's So it definitely used the ship's con system.
Yes.
So it wasn't a device someone has on hand using the Doctor Another ship. Okay.
Yeah.
So I would be trying to cross-reference a known system traffic, and I'm going to try to compare that with the power of the the message thing. Because how radios work in space, right? Radios work in space. You want to send radios in really far, it has to be really strong, right?
Yeah, because effectively, and this is definitely something less than the Cliff's Dummies Notes version of what it is, but effectively, radio is a blast of light, and light attenuates over the course of time and space, so you've got to have a very, very bright light bulb to send that information in order for it to reach wherever it's going. That's the really, really, really simplified version of that.
Right, which is why we have a comm officer, because that's complex math.
Yes.
And why it has formal training that he has comms 1. He's probably not better than a comms officer, but he understands what he's doing. So he's trying to figure out what all the ships are in the system and compare how far the signal strength would allow that message in order to be transmitted, and see if there's any ships in region that could have picked up that message. And our radio signal is it omnidirectional, or is it like a laser thing, like you point a direction, or is it just blast everywhere?
So what I envision, and I've tried to give it to you guys in a way that makes sense, but basically, hold on, somebody's pinging my stream with like follows or something. So it looks like, Nanoheart has followed. Thank you, my friend. Thank you. Basically what happens is as a ship enters a solar system, it begins receiving whatever comm signals are available over the course of its passage from entry point to wherever it's going within the system, and then back out again. It's constantly picking up, and it's also constantly transmitting. Now, a lot of that information is strictly navigational data, tracking data, so you don't run into another ship and stuff like that. But also, when there are messages being sent from a specific point to another specific point, there's a lot of like overlap. So in order for that message to get somewhere, now you have on one hand, you have your dedicated courier systems that the various ships will take large packets of data from one solar system to another, but then you have like a more generic information. And so when a ship enters the system, it starts scooping data. As it flies through the system, it continues to scoop data. It also is sending its own data, because ultimately, in this roundabout spiderweb sort of way, the message that a random person on one ship wants to send home and say, hey, Mom, Dad, I'm good to go, that has to relay it ultimately through a number of possible ships before it gets somewhere. And so then also, each ship has some sort of filtering system where, we've already received that message. Not only have we received that message, we've sent that message. And so it does some sort of like pruning, I guess is the best way to call it, to keep from having too much data build up, because it's got the same message 17 times as it wanders from one star system to the next. So that ultimately, no matter how the information is sent, and no matter what the information is, it eventually gets to where it's going. Now, on top of that, each of those individual messages may or may not have a certain level of encryption based on who's sending it and who's receiving it. This is what protects that information, so that when I send a love letter to my partner through your ship, you can't read my message, because only only the sender and the receiver will have that encryption. Not accounting for people that want to hack shit, because there's people that would do that. Does any of that, hopefully that doesn't really confuse too many people. It's basically ships repeat everything they pick up, and so that the information eventually gets to where it's supposed to go.
Isn't there also tight beam ship-to-ship communication?
There absolutely is. And so that's when like, say for instance, a good example of that is where a lot of your navigation information comes from. It's going to be tight beamed from, for instance, a space station that you're trying to get to as you first arrive in the system. You got to figure out where that station is, and then you start having that two-way communication so you can track each other's locations. And as you get closer and closer, you start receiving updates so that you can adjust your course and come in so that you arrive at docking pad 1 instead of docking bay 17 on the other side and upside down.
Hey, Omar, sent you some pings FYI on Discord.
Okay.
Sorry to interrupt. You
No
keep
worries.
going. You
Yeah.
can ignore that for now.
Yep. So, kind of similar to how, and this is a real world application, so I'm probably gonna get some terminology wrong. In aviation, there is visual flight rules and information, or I believe it's information flight rules, IFR and
Instrument.
VFR. And the information one is the more digital automated, where basically the pilot gets a readout and they follow the instructions on the readout or the guidance on the. It's because I think it's more of a graphical readout versus the voice one, which is where air traffic control is telling you literally ascend to 10,000 feet and maintain heading whatever until reaching here, then transfer over to this station. Well, if you're flying IFR, I think is the correct terminology. That information is you're kept in the loop the whole way through. You just follow whatever's on your screen. That would be more of a tight beam sort of setup for us in this game. So, and then obviously, once ships get within a few 100,000 kilometers of each other, that tight beam communication becomes far more reliable because the light second is only 300,000 kilometers. And the time delay is virtually negligible at that point. Within probably 1 million kilometers, now you've got about a 3-second lag one way, 6 seconds lag going back and forth. Anyways, slightly off topic. Does that answer or explain how I view 2300 communication systems?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
So we should have a copy of system traffic.
Mhm.
And I should figure out how strong the beam is, so I should know which ships are able to reach it and listen to it, and see and figure out which ships could have gotten that message. And also we're all kind of just how well is the location of person on the ship tracked, if at all?
I feel like the only way to be able to get very specific about tracking a specific individual on board your ship, they would have to have some sort of tracking device, perhaps a link device or some sort of implant that would also be keyed in with the ship's link system, because otherwise it wouldn't be very easy to keep track of anybody. Star Trek generally has the little communicator thingy on their chest is how they're able to track people, so that if they take it off or if they turn it off, you can't track their specific location. And I feel like in order to come anywhere near a realistic approximation of that, it would have to be through either the link devices that people have or some sort of implant or some other similar, like they would have to have some sort of item on them that would allow for that. And
Do the skin suits not have that?
You know what? That's actually a really good thought. The skin suit is your duty uniform, and I feel like maybe they would have that, and it would actually be part of your like relatively routine maintenance, like every month or two it is, to make sure that stupid thing is actually fully working. Because in theory, that skin suit ought to keep you alive in lieu of if you were in a vacuum or something, potentially for your own rescue. So they would have to have some sort of tracking on it. One would imagine a smart agency would do that anyway.
And the bio monitors that y'all use, aren't those integrated with the skin suit?
Well, when you mention the bio
not?
monitors, are you thinking of what people were using on the station?
Yeah.
Those
Is that something separate?
I was envisioning those being more tied in with their armor vac suits.
Vac suits? Okay.
Yeah. I feel like something like that might be a little bit cost prohibitive to have in your everyday uniform. That is already probably kind of expensive, given the fact that it's supposed to have its own self-contained air system.
Right. I was just thinking.
Granted, it's only good for a couple hours, or an hour.
I was thinking the doctor might could help if people had bio monitors on all the time, determining maybe who was awake at a particular time or wasn't awake at a particular time and all that kind of stuff. But yeah,
That
if it's
would
not
be-
part of the skin suit, then
That would be a bit much. I'm sure also that there would be some concerns about personal privacy, not to mention the fact that people could easily just be like, yeah, I don't really want them tracking me right now because I'm going to go fuck off for 4 hours before I go take a nap and bloop, turn it off, Yeah, so getting back to what I think Wiggles is trying to do, I think what you find. Well, before you do that, actually, let's roll some dice to see what kind of results you get.
Oh man, dice rolling in a role-playing game.
Yeah, I know. Who does this? How dare you?
Shenanigans.
I already
Shenanigans.
rolled fucking snake eyes. What more do you want from me?
Hey, Omar,
Yeah,
you get my ads?
I have not been looking at them. I've been staring at notes. Do I need to look at
Give
it
him a
right?
quick. You don't have to. It's not hyper important, but it might be funny for you, and you might come up with some fun stuff to maybe do. Just saying.
Oh,
So it's not
Nice.
important. You don't have to.
Yeah, no, that's nice.
I'll let you do what you will with that.
Yeah. Wiggles, go ahead and give me some sort of electronics, communications, computer. This first roll will be just to see first a generic roll to see if you can make heads or tails out of this wall of numbers and digits and letters and colons. So this will be a basic 8+. We'll use education. Let's go with electronics, computers, or electronics communications.
yeah.
I feel like that's a
that's a
pass. Yeah, I feel like that's a pass. So the first thing you're able to notice is that there is not necessarily a pattern as to when the communications were sent and or received, but you can notice, or you do notice rather, that they definitely were. They weren't a. Oh god, let me get my thoughts straight here. They weren't a omnidirectional blast. They were definitely sent specifically to the Wayfinder. They were received by the Wayfinder, and they were sent specifically through the comm station. Where they went from there, you do not know yet without rolling some more dice that are not mine. Stop rolling my dice.
Oh,
He's trying to give you the heebie-jeebies.
Yeah, I'm watching your green hand just zip back and forth on my screen. Stop messing with people's dice. Roll your dice. Wow.
all right, nice roll.
Huh?
All right. Yeah, that's fine. So does a reference? So we received the transmission. Is there a ship that that we're aware of that could have sent that transmission?
For whatever reason, Charles is keying up at the worst possible times, so I'm missing like certain words. What exactly is your question?
All right. So I know when we received the transmission. Is there a corresponding ship who could have sent that transmission?
That will require electronic sensors 10+.
All right, I don't have electronic sensors, but I'm willing to.
But you do have a
Take my
sensors
time.
operator that would want to help, maybe, if you asked him nicely, or her. Or you could take your time and because I don't remember exactly how it works, so I'm thinking something similar to taking 10. If you spend the evening working on it, you will not be able to. Let me rephrase that. If you spend the rest of this in-game evening trying to track it down, whether you pass or fail, that will be the final task that you can do for this scene. And
That's fine.
It will reduce it from a 10+ to an 8+.
Yeah, that's how that. Yeah. So
Alright.
so basically, like if something took like 1d6 hours, and you take your time, it would take 1d6. I don't know, 5 hours or.
Yeah. You
And
end up
conversely,
basically
you can.
spending the rest of the night, and you end up falling asleep with the answer waiting for you on the computer when you first wake up in the morning. Is effectively what'll happen. So, electronic sensors 8+. EDU.
Ooh,
Wow.
11.
All right. So, what exactly was your question? You're trying to cross-reference with maybe
Yeah.
trying to figure out where this.
What? Yeah. If there's a known ship in our that there, so we should have a copy of the system's traffic, right? Because we're
Yeah.
aware of the ships around us.
Yep.
Is there a ship that corresponds to who sent that signal?
Okay,
That we're
so
aware of?
here's what you notice. Just before you pass out for the night, you notice that each individual message that was sent or received went to a totally different ship nearby. And this is not surprising, because as I explained earlier, that's somewhat normal, how information propagates versus being sent from one star system to another. So the problem is you've narrowed it down to something like a half dozen different ships. When you wake up in the morning, you notice in the routing information, some of the routing codes and identifiers are identical. So while they're going to different ships, somewhat normal process or procedure, the routing information is identical, and this is not normal because that routing information is normally in any other communication traffic, no matter the content, the context, the sender, the receiver, the security clearances. The routing is very specific because it tells you it went from ship A to ship B to ship 2 to ship 4 to ship 7 to ship 8 to you. But this information is routing information that is virtually identical, but yet is going to separate ships. The routing path is unique to each message, and each one has a totally different path, but yet they share several of the same routing markers.
Okay. So now, when I make something to try to track these messages, I now have something to tell them apart.
You do. You have the routing codes.
Okay. Then the next step would be to write a program that just kind of like hugs the the transmission logs, and it's just looking for those routing codes and
Okay.
to flag those messages.
Like
send me like a message, like wake my ass up, send me a message.
You start working on this, and in the process of putting all of this code together, when you're starting to compile various functions and check for errors and all that, you receive a ping from some of the subroutines that you introduced into the comms network, of the ship's comms network, that the comms logs source files are deleted.
Huh. Weird.
And to be clear, GM to player, what I'm referring to, just so there's no confusion, is the same files that Paul Gray noticed were deleted and reported to Hellwig. So basically Hellwig knows about 8 to 12 hours earlier than you that those original files have been deleted. Easy, you're perfect. There you go. Does that make sense, Wiggles? Do you follow where I'm going with that?
Yeah, and I'll tell my wife about that information, and I'll ask her if she can task an engineer to do a heavy maintenance for that, and see what happens. Like I noticed some like file corruption here, and need to do some heavy maintenance to see on the server what's going on there.
All right. So for clarity's sake, you want your wife, the chief engineer, to task one of the other engineers to go do a diagnostic on the physical sections or parts of the comms system array station. Is that correct?
Yeah. No.
Okay.
Yes.
No, that checks out. Like, I mean, sometimes it's not just the codes that's fucked up; it's the literal physical components. Before we move,
I noticed some file corruption while going through some stuff. There's files missing that I knew were here, and like, what's up with that? Go figure it out.
go see if the
I'll
RAM.
tell my wife that it's part of the conspiracy that I'm looking into, but that's the reason to go do this work.
Okay. Yeah. So basically, you tell her to see what she can do to have someone to go check it out, and then you get an engineer to do something to the effect of go make sure the tower is safe and make sure the tower is solid and that the RAM chips aren't burnt out.
Yes. and unless I state otherwise, assume that I'm freely sharing. Unless I state otherwise, assume I'm freely sharing information with my wife.
I just assumed pillow talk.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, just going through my day and whatnot, because she's better at a lot of this stuff than me. I mean, so.
Yeah, well, there's a reason why she's your better half.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. That will take us to roughly Wednesday morning. And if I recall correctly, you guys will be arriving in Bessiere something like Wednesday 8 o'clock, I think. Whoa, calm down. So 6 o'clock.
Okay.
Okay, fair enough. 6 o'clock 6 o'clock on Monday is departure. 2 days, 2 hours is arrival. That puts it at 8 o'clock. Another 3 hours. So you have from now until 11 p.m. this evening, before you guys arrive at the Istria station. You are now traveling at less than FTL. Your ship is doing the whole, as we mentioned previously, your ship is now doing the whole scoop and send all communication data available routine. I want to take a moment before we get too much further, actually. I want to describe for the players and the viewers the system that they are in. You are now in the Bessières system, and so basically Bessières is the industrial engine at the heart of the French Empire, or excuse me, French arm. The mining of volatiles from the upper reaches of the gas giant Voltaire, the mineral and carbon compounds from voluminous asteroid belts, and the proximity to the core, meaning Earth and Alpha Centauri, is what makes Bessières, an industrial powerhouse. There are scattered throughout the system, there are hundreds of small habitats, factories, smelters, and refineries. Finished goods are shipped back to Earth and terrain, and then onto worlds throughout the French arm. Some of these products even find their way into the two other arms, though the markets there are limited, especially in the Chinese arm. If you guys don't know, the Chinese arm is pretty much like, I don't know if heavily saturated is the right word, but there are a lot of products being made in the Chinese arm that are
Evil.
Whoa, that was intense.
Sorry. My bad. I'm sorry.
Basically, there's a lot of competition, if you will, on the Chinese arm for French products. Cheap Bessières crap. What the hell is going on in the background of y'all? McAvoy or Zam, you gotta stop that, man.
Better out than in, I always say.
I cannot disagree. Just mute yourself.
Comes out when it comes out, dude. I'm sorry.
I hear you. A little too much. Cheap Bessières crap is a common phrase, though many may think that it is an unfair one. The system consists of the primary Bessières, or DM plus 36 2147 is its official catalog designation. It is a small, dim, red dwarf star, and there are also 5 gas giants of varying sizes, 2 asteroid belts, and a distant ice ball in the furthest reaches of the system. I'm not going to go specifically through all of the planets. The one in particular is Voltaire. It is the gas giant Voltaire, rich in simple hydrocarbons in its upper cloud layers. It is about the size of Neptune, and I picture it in my head kind of like a blue, kind of like Neptune, but a little bit of a deeper blue. So maybe something. I'm looking at two empty Pepsi cans on my desk, so that's the blue that's in my head right now.
Is this you said they're gas giants, right?
Yeah.
Totally not fucking like rocky planets with life on it, right?
Correct.
Okay, because that would have been shocking, to say the least. Well, during this, I think this is the part, Omar, where Mr. McAvoy breaks out the drinks for his boys. Let's fucking go. You haven't quite made it journey.
You haven't quite made it into Doc yet. I just wanted to explain.
Basically done it.
I mean, yeah. I mean, if you want to look at it that way, it's 10 or 11. Going on 10 o'clock in the evening, and
we're out of the scary FTL thing, which is scary and kind of
It's not that scary. Come on.
It's scary, dude. So he's gonna break out the drinks. He's gonna break out the rum. Him and his boys. He's not sharing with anybody. Fuck you guys. He's gonna share with only him and his boys. And they're gonna be in their barracks, their little quarters.
Yeah.
Singing and doing fun stuff.
Okay. I need well, let me explain Istria Station. Istria Station is one of the largest outposts, let me rephrase that. Bessières is one of the largest outposts ever built and only qualifies as an outpost due to the transitory nature of its population, most of which are workers on a 3-year contract or managers on a 5-year contract. All told, there's about 1,000 permanent residents, but there's also another 50,000 transient workers in the system at any time, scattered across 4 habitats and a few dozen smaller stations. The Bessier conglomerate has determined it is more cost-effective to have people rotate in and out than it would be to maintain them here on a permanent basis. Istria Station is the primary habitat for the system, a huge hollowed-out asteroid shaped and spun for gravity. It's about 6 kilometers long and 3 kilometers wide. That is about, if my math holds, that is about... I'm not good with metric, but I'm going to go with somewhere...
This big.
It's about 10 miles long and about 4 to 5 miles wide.
It's about...
Yeah, it's
50
about...
football fields big.
It's much larger than 50 football fields. It is, like I said, it's 6 kilometers long, 3 kilometers wide, spins at about 0.7 revolutions per minute, and provides about 0.8 gravity on the outer edge of the system. The entire interior is sealed off and hollow, providing a vast open expanse with 18 square kilometers of living area. And with that, I actually kind of have a little map-ish. So give me just a second, I can pull it up. Second star, Istria Station map. Alright, so if you notice the board I just put down. Oh, that should work. Don't touch it! I forgot to lock it.
I'm gonna touch it.
I forgot to lock it. Anyway, if you zoom in on it, you can kind of see how it works. So just imagine the bottom wraps around to the top. But that's the Istria Station. I have another map or image or what have you that gives you something more. I call it the live view, and now I gotta find a spot for it. Here we go. Put it here. This is what it would look like if you were actually inside it. Let me position the camera.
Damn, that shit fucking sucks, dude. It's just some big giant stick out of the... What the heck?
That's a rod in the center. That's the rod in the center of the station.
Man.
Yeah, you know,
Or tram or something. There's a little bit more information here. The entire interior is sealed off and hollow, providing a vast expanse. I said that already. A bank of lights at the core provides daylight levels of light throughout the station with the ability to alternate the lights one-off to simulate day-night cycles.
Right.
Docking connections are at either end of the station, designated north and south. The north end has a non-rotating ring section that serves as the dock for smaller vessels able to handle ships up to 200 tons. The other south end holds the station's main power plant, which is a high output fusion reactor with multiple arrays of solar panels as a backup for the life support. There's also a large dock here, one that can engulf ships up to 1,000 tons and is used to load and offload bulk cargo and supplies for the station. This habitat...
Question.
Yes.
Is this anything like the stations in Elite Dangerous? You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about. I played that game a lot. I don't play it much anymore, but yeah.
Oh my god, yo, for real.
This is, and think of it as more like the asteroid stations instead of like the more orbital type ones.
Right, okay, so...
and the one difference is that you won't be flying into it. Your ship will be docking on like a pad or what have you outside of it.
I imagine it's basically just a bigger version of those big cool fucking like hexagonal like stations, if you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, the Coriolis stations.
But it's just like a bigger version, I imagine, because it's got like, you know.
I don't know about necessarily bigger because I don't recall the dimensions of those. I think they were like 4,000 meters on a side or something silly like that. But effectively, yeah, like it's basically this big fat rock that they hollowed out, slapped a fusion reactor on it, slapped some other stuff on it, called it a station. And then they spun it so it would have gravity. Mr. Pilot Man,
awesome.
Mr. Pilot Man, I need you to make a piloting roll, please.
Oh boy.
Actually,
yeah.
I want to do something different as we do the approach.
Okay, what does the EXO want to do that may or may not countermand the the captain's orders?
My brother in Christ.
No,
EXO,
it wouldn't do that. No, it's important to give people in lower positions a chance to do stuff in higher positions. So Wyatt would have given the opportunity for Marshal Tran in order to take us into the station, to helm the bridge in order to do that.
What?
So you want the navigator.
What?
You want the navigator to make the piloting roll, is what I'm hearing.
What the
No,
fuck?
no,
are you
I want the
talking about?
navigator to command us to take us into the bridge
Oh,
to give them bridge experience.
oh.
What?
So he just gave the con to the navigator. Okay.
The XO's being weird, bro. Can we like replace the XO? Maybe like I don't know.
Wow.
No!
Anything to get rid of him, huh?
Hey, he's the one. Hey, listen. He's the one that threw me to that fucking plant. Okay, that's all I'm gonna say. He's the one that made the call.
Yeah,
No,
I guess, kind of.
He was involved. Okay.
Okay. Well, in that case, Marshall Tran, the navigator, will give Mr. Milligan, our pilot, the order to take us in, and then he will also order for the hab pods to be retracted and stowed in order for you guys to land on your assigned docking pad.
So, you know,
Okay, so I have one question about that.
Yes.
You know, I was given duty times, but how does that play out? Because it's like almost midnight now, right?
Yes, that's a good
Yeah.
question. I think the easiest way to explain it is this: the crew. There's not enough crew to have fully manned shifts every shift of the day. So
Okay.
when a major event such as departure, arrival, etc.,
Yep.
takes place, the primary individual responsible for that task is usually brought up. Alternates can be assigned based on needs and the mission or what have you, the situation. But yeah, you may be roused an hour or two early and said you're
Am I
gonna
allowed
need
to turn in
make
my paper
maneuvers.
real quick?
Oh yeah, we can assume you've already turned in your report.
Okay, so my report is only 25% less crude than what it was when I gave it to them originally.
Okay.
I just want to point that out. So I'll let you decide how that looks to them.
Yeah, there's 2 or 3 less fucks or shits in that report. All right.
Yeah, there you go.
All right, Mr. Milligan, please take us in.
Dope.
I need a piloting EDU 8+.
Bam.
That is dead on. Awesome. Yeah, there is 0 problems with your approach. You bring the ship in nice and smooth like butter, I believe I actually heard once today. And as you touch down, there are magnetic clamps for the docking, for the landing gear. There's like a clamshell that closes up over your ship, and probably about 10 or 15 minutes after you touch down, you guys are given. Everybody on the bridge would receive some sort of notification about that the atmosphere outside the ship is now safe for humanity, so you can work without vac suits and all that stuff, which is the whole point of these pads. So basically what I'm imagining is at the south end of the station are these pads that kind of radiate outward from the station a little bit, kind of like solar panels, that are, because now my brain's overthinking a little bit, that are aligned with the spin so that there's actually gravity as well.
Spin.
There's, mind you, it's, probably like a third gravity instead of, some weird gravitational force things. But anyway, let's take a quick 5-minute break here now that we've arrived at Istria. I am going to DM the XO, the cargo that's available here, and when we get back, we will be looking at selling and purchasing more cargo, and then there will be some opportunity for liberty for some of the crew.
What about payday?
Liberty.
Say that one more
Isn't it
time.
close to payday? Isn't it close to payday?
Not yet.
Oh.
No. Paydays once a week. Once a. I don't know. How
Once-
do we pay people? Once a month?
It's on the 1st of the month.
Yeah. Fuck you.
Yeah, I know. I know my pay is gonna be fucking garbage because I'm working as a senior trooper.
You only
a
get a
mere
couple
senior
grand.
trooper.
Yeah.
Yeah, despite the fact that I'm out here, risking my life for the stupid ass fucking
Yeah, but
commander.
you also received, 7,000 because 1, you were part of the landing party, and 2, you got a $2,000 bonus on top of that.
Nah, bruh.
The
They sent
XO
me out to
signed
go
off
die
on
in a
it.
plant room.
Yeah,
nah,
and they
bro,
gave
I want extra pay, dude.
you they gave you extra pay.
I want hazard pay for that shit,
Alright.
dog.
You
All right,
did get hazard pay.
All right, my friends, we will be back in about 5 to 10 minutes. Give us a few minutes. We'll let McAvoy rant on about how he didn't get enough money for the danger he encountered. And we'll be back in about 5 to 10. See you soon.